Hello and welcome to the Delhi edition of Town Hall. Here we listen to the inspirational stories of founders who have built successful business and try to understand from them how is it that they have managed to achieve it. Our guest for today is Yashish Dahiya, founder of Policybazaar.com. Welcome to Town Hall, Yashish.
Thank you very much. Pleasure for me to be here as well.
Okay, Yashish, so I read on one of the websites that after you finished your management at IIM, you decided not to take the campus placements and instead you offered private tuition for some time. What was the reason for that?
The reason was more because I wanted to not work in an organization and I wanted to be independent. But there were also other things, right? Because I had cleared a lot of exams. So whether it was the JEE, whether it was the IIM, whether it was the Army, the SSB, the Merchant Navy, lots of things. So I remember doing about 20 odd different kind of things because we didn't know what to do. At least I didn't know what to do. So we were doing everything. And I think I also saw how much tuitions were being made available to people all along. And I also saw the quality of those tuitions. And I thought I could deliver better quality than that. And I felt very confident of it. So I started doing that. I can just share with you when I got my first job offer, it was, or whatever, the average salary at that time per month for an IIM Ahmedabad graduate was about 20,000 rupees, right? And I earned about 25,000 in the first month, working about 2-3 hours a day with maybe about 15-20 students who were paying me for different kinds of tuitions. And I used to run different classes and I was enjoying myself. My sister was one of the students. So I would have had to teach her anyway. Out here I was teaching 5-6 kids and getting paid as well. So I was really enjoying that. I didn't know why I should do a job because this just seemed like it was making more money for me and I was happy.
But then you did also work in a corporate setup for some years. So
yes.
Can you tell us something about the experiences there?
It was awesome because I took on the job basically because my family was not very happy about what I was doing. They said that's okay, but we don't agree with this logic. You got to go and work at least till your sister gets married. So I went and took up a job with ITW Signode, which was an industrial packaging company, and I did not think about why ITW Signode and why not Procter and Gamble or why not something else, right? It was just the people I knew the most. So I just called them up and I kind of joined them, right? And they gave me a role in Rajkot to start up a branch. Actually, they asked me, what do you want to do? And they were giving everybody roles in the central office, do finance and do. I said, so what does your company do? So they said, we sell industrial goods. So I said, then I would like to sell industrial goods. Like, I don't want to be in a support function. I said, are you sure? Because we sell industrial goods all over the country. I said, wherever it's not working out, send me there. So they sent me to this place called Rajkot. And I'm not making this up. I was one of the highest performing employees. I became a business unit head. So I joined in this place called Rajkot. And I did very well in the company. I worked in Rajkot. I worked in Madras. I worked in Hyderabad. I worked in Bombay. I did extremely well. I became a business unit head. Within 2.5 years, I was the youngest business unit head. And I was really enjoying myself, having time of my life. Did that for 4 years. And post that, I went to INSEAD. Now, the reason I went to INSEAD is I had the INSEAD admission very, very long ago, pretty much from the time of IIT, because the INSEAD dean had come to IIT, and I was a member of what they call the IIT Senate because I was general secretary at IIT. And I was very impressed by this institute. So I went there, enjoyed it. Then I joined Bain, spent a year there, enjoyed that. Actually, not a year, maybe about a year and a half or so. Then I joined eBookers, which was a European online travel agency. Did that for some time, enjoyed that, and then Policybazaar, and enjoying this as well.
So at any point, even while you were working with those companies, had you thought that at some point I want to branch out on my own?
I honestly don't think very much on what do I want to do in the long run. And I know that sounds odd for somebody who's for the last 10 years been building an organization or 11 years. I think more about what I'm doing and whether I'm enjoying it or not. And at no point, whatever I was doing, I was not enjoying. In fact, ITW, I would have never left. There was one, I would say, incorrect manager who probably has understood his incorrectness over time. And I thought what he was doing wasn't right, and I just said, from tomorrow I'm not coming to office. It wasn't a thought out decision. And then I thought about, okay, now I'm no longer going to that office, so what am I going to do? And that is where, next steps came from. But I don't think I've ever thought about what will I do 6 months later. In fact, it's a very strange one. When I interview people at Policybazaar, they ask me, what's your vision for? I tell them all that, but I say, look, and then they say, what do you think about certainty? And I say, I don't know 6 months later, what's going to happen, but right now we're doing this. So, yeah, on one side, very strategic. On one side, almost bobbing along like a, ball in the water with no direction. So, and I'm comfortable that way.
I'll ask that same question about your vision for Policybazaar, but later on.
Sure.
Before that, what was the idea behind Policybazaar? How did it come about?
Two different directions that Policybazaar comes from. One is a company called Admiral, and that's a fairly technical answer. There's this company called Admiral, which simply put underwrites find risk, right? To underwrite find risk, you have to get, suppose there are 50 people in this room, like 30, 40, 50 people in this room, and I can only underwrite 3 of you. The other 45 or 47 I can't underwrite. But I can't find just the 3 of you. So from a marketing perspective, I got to tell all of you that, look, I exist. So you all come to me, and then I can only underwrite 3 of you. So it's a huge wastage, right? 47 people get wasted. So what Admiral used to do was take the remaining 47 and find out who are they right for, and connect them to other insurers. And this model was called confused.com. So, people would come, they were confused about what to buy, Admiral would do that, and Admiral that way was able to make its marketing very efficient and hence underwrite very well. And I was very impressed by that model, and that is what we are replicating in Policybazaar. So everything we do in Policybazaar eventually comes from the Admiral model, right? But when I came to India, what I found was there was a lot of mis-selling, wrong products, etc., etc. And I thought it was a bigger opportunity than I had envisaged, because that wasn't really the problem in the UK. The problem was more which product to buy. But out here, the problem was which product to save yourself from. That's why our first campaign was Ullu Mat Bano. So it's a mixed bag, right? It comes from the Indian context, and it comes from a very successful, British company.
So you started Policybazaar in 2008, and
Yes.
that would have been a pretty tough year, because that was also the year of the global financial year, and it was a tough business environment wherever you looked.
Yes.
So how was the experience there?
I think, yes, it was a tough year. I believe it's great to be in a tough year. Your perspective becomes much stronger. I think because I've been through 3 cycles, whatever you call them, 1996, 2001, many of the people in this room may not have been born in the first cycle at least, maybe second cycle, some of them were born, 2001, and then 2008. I know that the party always ends. So I don't believe in a party. So Policybazaar has never been a party. Just never was, right? And never will be. And I become very unpopular sometimes with some of my own colleagues, employees, because they say, hey, there's a party going on in the world. Why are you not behaving like there's a party going on, right? And I always tell them, look, this party always ends, always ends. And when it ends, what happens when the party ends? The water goes down, and everybody who's swimming without the swimming costume is naked. And businesses come to a halt very rapidly. So you have to always build your business on fundamentals. And I'm very lucky that I graduated from IIM Ahmedabad in 1996. I graduated from INSEAD in 2001, and I started my business in 2008. All 3 were, bottom of the market years, and that's why I got a lot of perspective. Let me put it very simply. The 1 year before, when I graduated from INSEAD, there were 6 jobs per person. 6 jobs per person. The year I graduated, there were 6 jobs in London throughout all of consulting and investment banking for everybody at INSEAD. Only 6 jobs for 300 students. I had 3 of them. I had 3 of the 6 jobs available to anybody at INSEAD. And I was an Indian who had never worked in Europe, right? That's what perspective does for you. Perspective makes you succeed when you truly, truly deserve it, right? And then you shine in the good times. So I think, it's like, I call it like, uphill cycling. If you want to learn cycling, if you want to train, you do a bit of hard training. You don't if you practice downhill training, sometime the uphill has to come. And then you suddenly say, oh, what happened?
So how did you raise the capital when you were setting up your business?
You know, investors have a strange way of, just like, you could ask me the same question, how did I get jobs in 2001? When there were no jobs, when people were being fired left, right and center, how was I getting a job, right? And that too at a company like Bain, which is a top employer at INSEAD. It's the same answer here, right? I had 3 of those 6 jobs, and I think maybe 3 companies got funded in 2008, and I was one of them. So I think it's the same thing. And investors, if you look at the good investors, the good ones, and I don't want to name them, their investment never slowed in the weak times and never expanded in the great times. You look at them, you'll find these. I can give you one example whose data I know very well, and whose data is quite public, which is Inventus. Look at every year they've been making the same amount of investment, whatever the year be, good time, bad time. So they need, and they are only investing in the same kind of companies. So to them it doesn't matter, right?
So I read in one of your interviews, you said that InfoEdge was among the few companies which paid kind of overvalued.
Yes, they overvalued us.
And what was the feeling like at that time when you got more than what you were expecting?
No, we didn't get more than we were expecting. Listen, in hindsight, I say they overvalued us because at that time, I had just sold a company for $500 million, and I was like, I'm the bee's knees and the world needs to happen to me, and I was like, if I don't get this $5 million, I'm just going back. So it wasn't like, it was almost like this had to happen, right? So at that time, but I do realize, sitting back now, when I look back at the last 11 years, that was a bit presumptive of me, right? That my family won't come here, I'll just start this. I know it'll be a success. That I knew it'll be a success. But I may know. The investor has to believe that. So I was very lucky in finding an investor who believed all that. But this has come to me with maturity and hindsight. At that time, I thought I was doing them a favor by them investing with me. But that was wrong of me.
So what were the early days like? I'm sure there would have been lots of struggles.
Yeah, struggles there were. But let me share this one fact with you. Struggles there were. But we've never missed our plans ever in any quarter by more than 10%. Uptime, downtime, whatever happened. Business model changed, regulation came, regulation went, our business model was. But for us, the target that we set for ourselves every quarter, I know that's almost boring, but our organization is almost boring that way. So, investors also get a bit bored because they just see performance, very consistent performance, year in, year out, no questions to ask, companies doing brilliantly, strategy great, everything being executed well. It does get a bit boring. You do want, something else, but there is nothing else. It's a very boring company. It's just executing all the time. But yes, there were a lot of struggles. Remember, we were not the first player. There were at least 5-6 players who existed before we came into the market, doing exactly the same model as us. And today we are more than 10-20 times bigger than anybody else in this space, right? And that's obviously not just happened. To me, that is that consistent, dogged execution and a very clear strategy. A very clear strategy, where are we headed? And then every day, it's the same thing like when you train, right? You're training for a marathon or whatever. One thing is you need to know what you're doing. The second thing is every day when you get up in the morning, you need to do it. You can't relax and hope it will happen, right?
So, did you have any near-death experiences with the company? Like at one stage where it almost felt like, probably you might have to close it down and do something else?
We have had that at least 15 times in our piece. But I think what made us the strongest was 2011 to 13. When basically the regulation came in and the regulation essentially said, if you do this business model, you can't make money. There's enough written in the media about how the regulations came and what those meant and all that stuff. And this was a business which was good for the consumer. It was consumer centric. It was doing the right thing for the consumer, at least compared to the rest of the insurance industry, what goes on there. You can throw bricks at anything. But the point is, when you compare it to the rest of the world, this looks like the head boy in a pretty naughty school. But the regulations were very harsh and our business model was questioned. So let me explain. We had near-death moments, but the business never suffered. We suffered. So as I say, if I ever get some major disease, it probably is on the regulator's soul or whatever. It's on their conscience. But the business never suffered. The business every quarter still kept delivering. So yeah, but we suffered immensely. I'm surprised we don't have ulcers and cancers and all by now.
Maybe that's because you're a fitness enthusiast. So how did that interest
Maybe,
come
yeah,
about?
but the fitness enthusiasts also have cancers and ulcers, yeah. So it's I don't think that alone saves you, yeah. So eventually, but yeah, I've been running since I was 8 years old. So that's not something that happened to me later on in age, but yeah.
So tell us something about your interest in fitness.
Yeah, it's not an interest in fitness. So I don't think I'm a fitness enthusiast by any stretch of imagination. I don't do weights. I don't do all those kind of things. I basically liked running since I was a kid. And I liked running because I was not good in any other sport. So I can't play cricket straight. I can't football. I didn't have spatial awareness, whom to pass to, whom to get the ball from. Running was an event where, I still remember I had a neighbor and we used to do short distance runs. He used to beat me hollow. But as we did long distance runs, I used to beat him, and he was about 2 years elder to me. And that gave me some enthusiasm, right? So I think it was 4th standard that Meerut, St. Mary's Academy, they were having some 10-kilometer run. And I participated in it. I was just in the 4th standard and I came 6th in the whole school. So it gave me recognition instantly that, I was the best runner in my class. And that was the only thing I was known for. So if you ask anybody in the last, whoever knows me for, all my friends, they're all because of running. Nobody knew me for anything else, right? They said, okay, nice guy, but otherwise he's a runner. Dahiya the runner, right? So I think that was it. And then as we got older, and as I had kids, so I started training for swimming with them. Because I used to go to the swimming pool and there was, like most parents do, they'll go and the kids are swimming and you're watching, right? Because you can't do anything else. So I asked the coach, can I also swim with them? And he said, yeah, sure. So I started doing that, and because I had improved in swimming and, I became whatever in the masters category, I got the gold medal, and then I went for the world championship. So things happen. And then because of Saurabh sitting here, he introduced me to the triathlons and Ironman and all that stuff. So I started doing that also. So I'm very grateful to him. I really enjoy that. I really enjoy swimming, cycling and running. But it's not because I want to be fit. It's not because I want to live long. Nothing at all. It is only because I enjoy it. So I enjoy it, I do it. If I didn't enjoy it, I won't do it. It's that simple. Yes, it has other benefits. It's made me much fitter. If you look at my pictures earlier and now, I seem to be getting younger, although I had lost my hair before that happened. So.
Okay. Now, hiring the right kind of people is the key to the success of any organization. So what are the qualities that you look for when you're hiring people directly?
Yeah, the biggest quality I feel anybody can have is empathy. The ability to think about others and not just themselves. The reason I did not pursue my career in education, if you would, was because my parents were not happy about it. I could have always said I don't care. But because they were not happy, I understood finally why they were not happy, and I went and did my job. The reason I started Policybazaar to some extent, and this is a different story, was because there were 18 other employees. I did not want to do it. Even when the funds were there, I did not want to do it. So the last day when the money was coming, I actually stood and prayed that the money doesn't come. Because for me it was a personal disaster. Because I knew my family was never going to move to India. And that's what's happened. So the last 11 years they've stayed abroad, right? But then I thought about it, and 2 minutes after I had prayed, I said, yeah, you're not the only one. There are 18 other families. And you're only thinking for yourself. I think the only difference between a good leader and a bad leader is, can he think about others? Or does he always put himself first? And I think to some extent we have been able to succeed at having that quality in Policybazaar. So if you ask me about anything that differentiates Policybazaar from the rest of the world, that one quality should differentiate. I'm very saddened that that quality has not percolated beyond the first maybe 100, 200 odd employees. Today we are 10,000 people. But that quality has not percolated down. So, that saddens me, because my biggest ambition is that quality becomes the hallmark of our company. Because if you have that quality, you can never fail. you will always succeed.
So what is the reason you feel that has not happened despite you pushing for it and trying to create that kind of a culture?
Yeah, at some level, while that was somewhere ingrained in me since I was a kid, that has, with all my efforts, it has got ingrained in level 1, level 2, level 3, but beyond that it goes missing. And then there's the whole popular culture. What's in it for me? Right? And that I think people don't do it. If you ask the same people, I'll give you an example. Everybody wants a high salary. But if you ask the same person, what will you do with your salary? Many times the answer is not that I will spend it on myself or I'll buy. Many times the answer is I'll do good things. I'll do some work. I'll do some charity. I'll do some this. I'll also take care of my parents. Many times the answers are very non-selfish. So I don't think we are selfish by nature. But somewhere I think peer pressure makes us feel comfortable talking about selfishness for us.
So let me wrap up this conversation by asking you, when you look back, is there something you would have wanted to do differently given a chance?
It's a very hypothetical question. I don't dwell too much on the past, as I said, or on too much on the future. At every stage, the choices I made, I'm pretty proud of those choices. Given the situation that day in those events, every one of them, we haven't had too much learning, and maybe we are fortunate, maybe we are stupid. I don't know which one it is. But we haven't had too much learning in terms of maybe we should have done this way. Maybe we should have done it another way. Just haven't. As I said, maybe we are too fortunate. Maybe we're just so stupid that we can't even learn. Maybe we are full of hubris. Maybe we are full of so much hubris that we think we can't do anything wrong. I don't know what the truth is, but the reality is I will only speak what I believe. Belief is everything pretty much I've done over the last 11 years, I wouldn't do it differently.
Well, thank you, Yashish. And with that, I'll just throw open the floor to questions.
So I want to ask, what you think would be top 3 qualities which an entrepreneur should have, and secondly, what are the 3 main values you believe should be there in the company to get successful?
Yeah, okay, I'll try. So one is obviously empathy, which is critical. I think the second is every entrepreneur needs to be a magnet for talent. If great people don't join them and are not willing to walk all the way with them, then it's a bit of a challenge, because how will they build their capability, their team, etc. And when I say anchor for talent, I also mean anchor for a magnet for investors, a magnet for entrepreneurs, a magnet for it's just a necessary quality, right, for an entrepreneur. And I think the third thing, I think every entrepreneur needs to understand net present value of their actions fairly soundly. While they do need to be believers, they need to be dreamers, they have to plan things, but they have to have that balance. That does it make net present value sense? Because the greatest businesses have been built out of that net present value sense, out of great empathy and out of great, Now, when you talk about an organization, I think a great organization has multiple views.
My question to you is, in today's startup scenario in India, the latest data shows about 95% of startups failing. Where do you think people are going wrong?
No, people are not going wrong. 95% of new ideas do fail. I think what you would see is the best entrepreneurs going through these failures and still coming out and being successful, because every idea will not work. Every idea, however best you execute it, will not work, because you may have idea A, idea B, idea C. I started this business, I could have started something else and I could have failed. I started a travel, I was in the travel business. The reason we sold was because we thought the business was going to run out. If we didn't sell, we would have died, right? So I think from a learning perspective, it gave us great funds, but it wasn't a great result from business perspective, right? It was a great result from a financial perspective. There will be businesses that are sold on value. There will be businesses that are sold on profits, that are sold on fundamentals, right? I think if you look at fundamental businesses, I think the ratio is not 95%, the ratio will be 99%. Because there are very, very few businesses. I can almost count them on my fingertips, maybe InfoEdge, maybe Actually, I struggle beyond that, right? Who've made consistent, strong profits, who can stand on their own. Everybody else has basically looked for, can somebody buy me, right? So that's really not success. That's just personal success. That's not business success. So, but at the same time, the point I'm making is 95 or 99 is not the thing to be worried about. Because eventually, there are people who succeed and there are people who are unable to succeed. And there's something that's differentiating. There is something that's differentiating between them. And according to me, if you eventually go back to the same fundamentals, I will not do loss-making, non-NPV transactions. I will be empathetic to the whole situation. I am not here to impress investors. I'm here for investors to come to me, but I'm not here to impress them with, I see it all the time.
So my question is that you say the party comes to an end. It looks rational. Initially, it sounds rational because usage changes. And in the present time, usage changes are changing very fast. All these apps company, they have a very vast reservoir, a treasure of data.
Yes.
And data it has now been openly acknowledged that data are the more precious asset nowadays. Of course, you have been so successful for these long years. You have a very treasure of very valuable data. Now you change the party comes to an end. Does it mean that you are looking towards some another usage? Does it mean that you are planning to shift toward a new venture or new sort of, say, offerings?
When I said the party comes to an end, I did not in any way mean that we change the way we do business or anything of that sort. I think I'll explain, and it's somewhat linked to your question. Usually when I meet entrepreneurs or even people within my company, yesterday I met somebody. They showed me a business plan within our own company. They said, let's invest 31 crore rupees, and we have about 2,000 crores in the bank, so 31 crores rupees is not a big amount of money. They said, let's invest 31 crore rupees on this particular plan. The cost of acquisition was 1,200 rupees, and the chance we would convert, etc., the financials weren't adding up. So I said, why do you want to do it? He said, but so and so is doing it. I said, so what? It's not making sense, right? It's not making sense, but somebody else is doing it. That is what I call a party. When something does not make sense, but you do it only because somebody else is doing it. So it must be right. That feeling can last a year, it can last 2 years, it can last 3 years, it can sometimes last 10 years. But somewhere the party always ends. And if you ask me my gut feeling, I think we're at the peak of that party right now.
Well, with that, it's a wrap on this episode of Town Hall. Yashish, it was a pleasure talking to you today, and thank you very much for taking out time to be with us.
Thank you very much. I really enjoyed it. Thanks.